Have you ever wondered what happens after death? What if someone came back with an urgent message about the future of humanity? In today's video, you'll learn the true story of a former American elite soldier who died during a secret mission and came back with an apocalyptic vision of nuclear World War III. What he saw on the other side will give you goosebumps and could change the course of your life. So, leave a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any stories like this, and comment below which city you're watching from. Let's dive together into this testimony that is shocking the entire world. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 29 years old. I was born and raised in Wilmington in North Carolina, but my life took a different turn when I joined the Navy SEALs. For 7 years, I served in operations no one will ever hear about, in places that don't even exist on maps. I've always been the kind of man who ran toward the fire, until the day the fire engulfed me. It was May 12, 2025. We were on a classified mission off the coast of Virginia, just offshore. Intelligence indicated unidentified hostile activity, something about possible submerged drones and clandestine explosive charges. It was supposed to be a simple reconnaissance, turn in, report back, and return, but that wasn't what happened. At 3:08 a.m., everything exploded. The ship we were on was hit by a sea mine. The impact was brutal. I remember the vibration ripping through the hull, the dry sound like compressed thunder, and then a wall of flames and shrapnel crashing across the deck. My chest was hit. It felt like my heart had been ripped out by force. I tried to scream, but the air wouldn't come. I saw blood, so much blood, and then silence. Time stood still. There was no more pain, just a strange sensation that I was being pulled upward, as if invisible strings were pulling me from my body stretched out on the metal. I looked down, and what I saw froze my spirit. I was looking at myself, lying on the floor of the boat, while 2 colleagues desperately tried to revive me. But up there, it was all so calm. No engine noise, no screams, no smell of fuel and blood, just a soft glow, like moonlight reflecting off the ocean. I floated upward, passing through layers of reality like someone diving backwards. The dark water gave way to a tunnel of pale light, and the world I knew became small, distant, irrelevant. At that moment, I was sure I had died, but what awaited me on the other side was not rest. It was revelation. It was a mission. The light that surrounded me was unlike anything I had ever felt. It was no ordinary light. It was alive. It seemed to know me, as if every particle of it shone with purpose. I floated within it like a drop in an endless sea of peace, and then I realized I was not alone. There was something, or someone, coming toward me. At first, he was just a silhouette in the glow, but as he got closer, the glow around him grew brighter, and when I finally saw him, my heart, even outside my body, seemed to stop again. He was a presence, imposing, yet serene, majestic, yet full of mercy. He didn't need to say who he was. I knew. Jesus. Yes, I know how that sounds. I was never the religious type. I grew up hearing about faith. I went to church with my mother as a child. But war hardens even the spirit. I had seen too much. I had done too much. And I had begun to believe that if there was a God, he was far away. But there, standing before him, there was no doubt. None. His eyes, my God, his eyes, held the ocean and the sky, the pain of the world and the purest love. I didn't feel judged, but rather naked. He saw it all. My sins, my fears, my arrogance, and yet he looked at me as if I was still worthy of being saved. Ethan, he said, my name, spoken with a reverence I had never felt before. It was as if my existence had meaning, even in the midst of chaos. You are dead, but it is not the end. His voice was not just sound. It was strength. It was melody. It was pure truth penetrating my soul. I tried to speak. My words wouldn't come out. I could only shake my head, feeling a heartbreaking peace. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to leave that place. But he continued, you have to see. There is something you must witness, something no one else will see like you. Before I could ask what it was, everything around me began to shift. The light in the background distorted like fog being pushed by a gale. The ground disappeared. We were floating in a void filled with possibilities. I felt safe, and at the same time, I was about to face something that would change everything. Brace yourself, he said. What you are about to see can be avoided, but only if they believe. And then the scene around me exploded into a new reality, a vision that still haunts me today. My surroundings changed in the blink of an eye. The soft light was replaced by cosmic darkness. We were floating in space, or something that felt like space. Below me, the Earth rotated slowly, majestic and fragile, but something was wrong. A shadow hung over the continents, like a disease spreading through a sick body. "Watch," he said, with a tone of deep pain. From above, everything seemed calm at first glance. But then the signs began. Red lines appeared on strategic borders. Asia, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, like inflamed veins. They pulsed with imminent violence. I saw warships moving in the seas, supersonic planes cutting through the skies. It was as if the entire world was poised for attack. And then the flashes began. First one, then another. Nuclear explosions. Unbelievable in size, color, and sound. I saw cities disappear in the blink of an eye. New York, Los Angeles, Paris, Beijing, Tel Aviv. The earth was covered in radioactive mushrooms. Black clouds spread like tentacles, swallowing lives, wiping out civilizations in seconds. The ground cracked. The skies burned. With each detonation, I felt something inside me scream, as if my soul wanted to escape. It was a pain that didn't come from the body, but from the spirit, as if each life lost echoed inside me, screaming for help that would never come. "This is what is coming," he said, "not by chance, but by choice, by the pride of the leaders, by the blindness of the people, by the indifference of the faithful." I wanted to look away. I wanted to not see, but I couldn't. It was as if my eyes were trapped, forced to watch the end of the world. I saw children running from burning residential neighborhoods. I saw soldiers fighting in the ruins of cities that had once been symbols of prosperity. I saw my own mother's face, frozen on the screen of a shattered television, seconds before the explosion. "When?" I whispered. "Soon," he replied. "The signs have already begun." And then the names began to echo in my mind. Taiwan, the Strait of Hormuz, Kaliningrad, Seoul, places known for military tensions. But now, each was a spark ready to ignite the entire forest. "This is not just a war between nations," he continued. "It is a spiritual war, masked by politics and power, and it is about to begin." I trembled, even without a body. The horror of that vision pierced me like blades of ice. It wasn't a movie. It wasn't a dream. It was a prophecy. Humanity was one step away from the abyss, and I, a dead soldier, was the chosen witness to carry that truth back. As I watched the chaos engulf the planet, the view began to change again. The explosions stopped, the smoke cleared, and suddenly I saw what was behind it all. It wasn't just military leaders or presidents pulling the strings of this war. They were dark entities, spirits, creatures of darkness hovering above command centers, hovering in the halls of government, whispering into the ears of those who commanded armies. They had no faces, but distorted human forms, eyes of emptiness, mouths that muttered hatred, pride, paranoia. One brushed against the shoulder of a Russian general as he approved the launch of missiles. Another hovered behind an advisor in Washington, urging words of retaliation. In Beijing, I saw one of them laughing as thousands marched to their deaths. "These are the true architects of destruction," Jesus said, with regret in his voice. "They sow fear, manipulation, and pride. They feed on the vanity of the powerful, and they find fertile soil where prayer has been forgotten." My blood ran cold, even there, where I no longer had a physical body. These entities were everywhere, in television studios, spreading panic, in international forums, encouraging division, on social media, stirring up hatred. A spiritual war was unfolding before the eyes of billions, and almost no one saw it. They don't need weapons, they just need influence. The images intensified. I saw presidential advisors becoming puppets of these forces, leaders being seduced by promises of global domination, ideologies becoming mental shackles, entire countries falling under the sway of these spirits like pieces in a hellish chess game. "They know their time is running out," Jesus said. "They want to destroy as much as they can before the end, but there is still something that can stop them." The scene changed again. Out of the darkness came tiny points of light, barely visible at first. Ordinary people on their knees. Some were crying, some were whispering, but each one of them shone. A woman alone in a room, a group of young people in a basement, a pastor in an empty church. Light came out of them. It pulsed. It pushed back the darkness. That's what they fear, he said. Not sanctions, not armies, but prayer. I understood, with a clarity that burned like holy fire. The war I had seen could be prevented, but not by generals, but by people like you, like me, on our knees, in cries. And the responsibility for that message started with me. As I watched the shadows recede before those tiny points of light, something began to shift inside me. As someone who has participated in covert operations and high-risk maneuvers, I had never witnessed a power as devastating and yet so silent as that of prayer. The vision expanded. Now I saw the world covered in a golden net, threads of light connecting cities, neighborhoods, homes. Each thread was a sincere prayer. I saw a child praying, his small hands trembling, an elderly man kneeling alone beside a bed, a fasting group gathered in silence, and with each prayer, the darkness receded. Jesus spoke again, and his voice was like the sound of 1,000 waters, echoing within me. They think they are not making a difference. They think I am silent. But every sincere cry is an arrow that wounds the enemy. Every fast is a shield over their homes. Every praise is a wall that prevents the advance of evil. I saw it with my own eyes. With each prayer, demons retreated, as if they burned in the glow of these lights. A pastor praying in Chicago stopped a cyber attack in Europe. A young woman singing praise in Nigeria turned the heart of a military leader. A prison inmate converting to pure faith blocked the launch of a test weapon. It was like spiritual chess, but the world didn't see it. They don't know, I said. They have no idea what they are holding in their hands when they pray. That is why you will return, he replied. You will tell. You will scream if you have to. Because this war will only be won by hearts torn in repentance and knees bent in humility. I looked at the earth again. There were places that were almost dark, areas where no prayers took place. They were areas of dense shadow, where spiritual entities roamed freely. But even there, a single, burning candle of faith was beginning to pierce the darkness. One person can make a difference, he said. One broken heart is more powerful than 1,000 nuclear weapons. It was at that moment that I realized the great lie the world had believed, that we have no power, that prayer is useless, that we are at the mercy of politicians, bombs, and blind diplomats. But there, between life and death, between heaven and earth, I discovered the truth. The fate of the world is in the hands of those who pray, and the time to begin is now. The next vision was devastating. I saw the world divided into two paths. On one side, the war, the scene that had already been shown to me, cities reduced to dust, millions of lives extinguished in seconds, oceans poisoned by radiation, skies permanently covered by black clouds. I saw the planet bleeding. Literally, it was as if the earth were alive and dying. But on the other side, there was something different. I saw the same earth, but with an intense light emerging from within it. It began small, like a timid spark, but soon it transformed into a golden wave that swept across continents. I saw people leaving their homes not to protest or fight, but to pray. Crowds of every language and nation bending their knees in the streets, in the churches, in the squares. It wasn't religion, it was surrender. It was humility before something greater. Along the way, the same world leaders who were once surrounded by shadows now trembled before the presence of God. I saw a president weeping alone in his office, crying out for divine guidance. I saw generals surrendering their plans at the altar. I saw enemies embracing each other and asking for forgiveness. And the war didn't happen. The earth was healed, literally. The fields bloomed again. The rivers ran clear again. Children played safely in the streets. The war sirens were replaced by the sound of praise and reconciliation. Jesus then said to me, "This is the destiny that can still be chosen, but the window is closing." I felt it like a blow to the chest. Humanity was on the brink of an abyss, with both feet already in the air, but there was still time to retreat, time to change, time to surrender. They need to understand that free will is both a gift and a responsibility. He continued, "The world will not be saved by force. It will be saved by choice. They must choose to turn to me. I saw churches that were once empty being filled again. I saw prayer services taking place in public schools, factories, prisons. I even saw soldiers kneeling in silence before each mission, invoking peace where before there was only destruction. It was all real. It was all possible. But it all depended on one detail: the time. "You must go back," he said firmly. "Tell them that they are living in the final minutes before the decision, that heaven is waiting, that I am listening, but that I cannot force them. They must want it. And there, in the midst of light and darkness, destruction and hope, I understood. Humanity's greatest weapon was not the nuclear arsenal. It was the sincere prayer of a broken heart. His presence was stronger now. I could feel it like a warmth that permeated everything. Skin, bones, soul. But what came next was different. It was no longer just a vision. It was a calling, a spiritual summons. He stepped closer to me. His eyes still burned with compassion, but now there was a different intensity, like that of a general about to send a soldier on his most important mission. "You were trained to fight with weapons, Ethan. Now you will be trained to fight with faith. This battle will not be won with bullets, but with tears." I didn't know what to say. A part of me wanted to refuse. I was no pastor, no saint. I was a soldier with a hardened heart, marked by decisions that haunted me every night. But he read my thoughts before I even formulated them. "You weren't chosen because you're clean. You were chosen because you know the darkness. You've walked through hell, Ethan. Now you're going to tell others how to escape it." The words hit deep. It was then that I saw something I will never forget. Millions of people around the world, each with a unique face and each with a unique background, each with a unique path that would never cross, all turned toward me. It wasn't me they saw. It was the message. And in their eyes, there was something powerful. Hope, reborn. "These are the ones who will hear your voice," he said. "Some already pray, but they do not know the weight of their intercession. Others have never spoken my name, but they will when they hear what you have seen." I saw young people, old people, soldiers, mothers, politicians, children. I saw churches packed and small homes becoming altars. I saw people putting down their cell phones to open the Bible. I saw hearts beating with faith again. "You will be the spark," Jesus continued. "But the fire will be theirs." It crushed me. I felt small, unworthy, fragile. How could I, just one man, carry such a colossal warning? "I'll be with you," he said, touching my shoulder. And in that instant I felt an energy pass through my being. It was as if the entire universe was breathing inside me. I saw shields of light forming around churches, spiritual missiles being deflected by prayers, demons screaming and fleeing at the sound of a simple, "Lord, have mercy." It was real. It was war, but it was spiritual war. And I had been called up as a soldier in an invisible army. "You will come back," he said. "And when you speak, the heavens will move." I was shaking, not out of fear, but because I knew the world still had no idea what was about to happen. The scene changed again. We were in a field, a golden valley that seemed to pulse with life of its own. The light there was alive, as if it were singing, and Jesus walked beside me. There was no hurry, but the air was thick, as if each second carried an eternal weight. "There is something else you need to see," and he said, "something that many ignore, but that is the heart of it all." Then he stretched out his hand, and before us appeared a colossal hourglass, suspended in midair. The sand within it shone with a golden intensity, but it was running out. Grains fell slowly, one by one, and the sound of them rubbing together sounded like a countdown clock. "The time of mercy is running out," he said, looking at me with a gravity that cut to the soul. "The Father is withholding judgment through the prayers of the faithful, but even heaven's patience has a limit." These words were not spoken in a threatening tone. They came as a lament, a warning to a world asleep at the wheel of a car hurtling toward a precipice. Humanity is convinced that it can control its own destiny, but it does not realize that it is being led, manipulated, pushed towards the abyss by forces it does not understand. And then I saw something even more terrible. What would happen if that time expired? I saw the hourglass reach zero, and what came next was the end, not just of countries, but of civilization as we know it. It wasn't just physical destruction. It was moral and spiritual chaos. I saw broken homes, faith abandoned, global leaders acting like soulless puppets. I saw children growing up without knowing kindness. I saw humanity becoming unrecognizable, with empty eyes, cold hearts, an entire generation without hope. You must warn them, Jesus said. This is the last warning cycle. After this, everything will be a consequence. I felt like screaming. I felt like running. I felt like going back immediately and starting to preach in the squares and schools on social media. But I was still there, stuck between two worlds. What should I say? I asked. How do I make the world believe? He looked at me, and his light enveloped me completely. Don't try to convince them with arguments. Show them what you saw. Tell them how you died, and came back with a warning. The right words will come, but the urgency has to be yours. At that moment, I realized this wasn't just a message. It was a last chance. The line between now and never again was before us, and I would be the voice that had to shout it to the world. The field of light began to darken. The presence beside me remained strong, but now it carried an air of farewell. I knew my time here was coming to an end. You will return, Ethan, Jesus said, his voice full of tenderness. The world still needs your voice. I felt a devastating mix of emotions. Part of me longed to stay. There was no pain, no fear, no shame in this place. All the weight of my life, the trauma, the losses, the faces of friends who hadn't returned, it had all been washed away in that light. It was like I had finally found home. But what if I fail? I asked. What if no one believes me? What if they laugh at me? What if they think I've gone crazy? You are not returning alone, he replied. My presence will go with you. My spirit will remind you of everything. And even if they mock you, even if they try to silence you, the seed will be planted. Then he reached out again, and I saw faces, hundreds and thousands, people who had never heard my story before, some with tears in their eyes, others on their knees. I saw families reunited, young people kicking addictions, churches awakening from a spiritual slumber. These are the fruits of your obedience, he said. You won't see them all, but your every word will echo. Tears streamed down my face, not tears of sadness, but tears of mission. I knew I was about to leave the most perfect place I had ever known, only to plunge back into a world in chaos. But this time, with purpose. The light began to swirl around me like a golden whirlwind. The heavenly sounds faded away, and then, for the last time, I heard his voice. Do not be afraid, Ethan. Speak boldly. I will be with you, always. The scene exploded into white, a flash that consumed everything. Suddenly, pain, sounds, cold, human voices. He's coming back, blood pressure rising, breathing weak but steady. I struggled to open my eyes. Artificial lights blinded me. I was on a stretcher, surrounded by paramedics. The military helicopter's siren wailed in the background. Everything seemed unreal, as if I were waking up from an impossible dream. But I knew, more than anything, that what I had experienced was real as the pain in my chest, as real as the air that now filled my lungs. And with the first breath I took back on Earth, a new mission was born. Since I returned, much has changed. My body still bears the scars of that explosion, but it is my soul that has been permanently scarred. Every beat of my heart now pulses with the urgency of that vision. Every morning I wake as a reminder, time is running out, and the world is still asleep. I didn't come back to tell a pretty story. I didn't come back to move people. I came back because I saw what was coming, and because I was commissioned to warn people. You may not believe it. You may think it was all a hallucination of a wounded soldier. I have tried to doubt it myself, but then I look around. I read the newspapers. I listen to the leaders. I see the signs: global tension, nuclear rearmament, increasingly aggressive rhetoric, values crumbling, spirituality being replaced by distraction. It's all coming together, just as shown. And what scares me most is not the war itself. It is the silence of the church, the coldness of the people, the apathy of those who say they believe. Jesus told me that a single prayer and faith can stop a nuclear missile. Do you have any idea of the power you carry when you bend your knees? Do you have any idea of the difference you make when you fast, when you cry, when you intercede for your city, for your country, for the world? I have seen darkness tremble at prayers you never imagined had an impact. I have seen demons retreat from teenagers worshiping in a bedroom. I have seen war decisions changed because a lady prayed alone in the middle of the night. This is the army that can prevent World War III, the invisible army, the army of the humble, the army of those who cry, the army of those who don't have a microphone, but have faith. If you are listening to this, it is because there is still time. The hourglass has not completely emptied. There is still sand left. Not much, but enough. What you do today, right now, can change the fate of the planet. It can save your city. It can protect your children from the fires that I have seen consume entire continents. This message is not mine. It is his. I'm just the messenger, a broken ex-soldier who died at sea and saw the end. And hope, you decide the ending of this story. Are you going to ignore it? Are you going to say it's crazy? Are you going to go back to your routine as if nothing was said? Or are you going to get down on your knees right now and start praying like the whole world depends on it? Because it depends. If you liked this beautiful spiritual testimony, leave a like, comment your impressions, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to watch each new video and help us spread this message to a greater number of people. Until next time.